Small Garden Makeover, classic rustic design on a budget. Small garden design is often misunderstood as a compromise, something defined by limits. Limited space, limited resources, limited options. Yet when approached through the lens of rustic style, a small garden becomes a canvas of endless possibilities. The rustic aesthetic does not rely on grandeur or scale. Instead, it thrives on intimacy, imperfection, and character. It is a design philosophy that transforms constraints into strengths, weaving natural textures, aged materials, and timeless warmth into a living environment that feels deeply human. Imagine stepping into a courtyard paved with irregular stones, bordered by lavender hedges, with a weathered wooden bench under the soft shade of climbing vines. Terracotta pots filled with fragrant herbs line the pathway. The surfaces are rough, imperfect, yet inviting. This is the language of rustic design, a harmony of elements that embrace history rather than conceal it. Every material tells a story. The reclaimed wood speaks of time and tradition. The stones recall rural trails and ancestral craftsmanship. Even rusted iron lanterns carry the dignity of age. In an era when sleek modernism dominates, with polished steel and glass often defining our built environments, rustic gardens offer something radically different: authenticity. Instead of aspiring toward flawless perfection, they celebrate the patina of life. Cracks in stone, weathering on wood, and vines growing freely across walls are not seen as flaws, but as testaments to time. This authenticity resonates in today's world, where people long for grounding, connection, and escape from the artificial rhythm of the digital age. The rustic style is also inherently sustainable. Using natural and reclaimed materials reduces cost and minimizes environmental impact. Local stones, aged timber, terracotta, clay, and iron form the foundation of this aesthetic, not mass-produced plastics or chemically treated surfaces. Sustainability is not an added feature. It is woven into the very essence of rustic design. A small garden built in this way becomes not only a personal sanctuary, but also a quiet statement of ecological responsibility. Spatially, rustic gardens are designed for intimacy. A compact space can feel expansive when it is divided into meaningful zones. A corner with a stone bench invites reflection. A row of pots becomes an herb garden for cooking. A narrow gravel path, bordered by rosemary and thyme, guides visitors through the space with sensory richness. Each zone carries its own personality while remaining connected to the whole. Unlike formal gardens that rely on symmetry and control, rustic spaces embrace natural flow. Plants spill over edges, shadows shift across irregular surfaces, and pathways curve softly instead of running straight. The atmosphere created is the soul of rustic design. It is not only visual, but multisensory. The crunch of gravel underfoot, the fragrance of herbs in the sun, the warm hues of clay and aged wood, all of these combine to create an environment that feels alive. A rustic garden is not a static display. It is lived in. It is a place for meals shared outdoors, conversations at twilight, children playing, or quiet moments of solitude. It is both social and personal, a stage for daily life as well as a retreat from it. This is why rustic gardens remain relevant in contemporary design. They align perfectly with current trends of sustainability and personalization. More homeowners seek to repurpose materials, to grow plants that support biodiversity, and to create spaces that reflect personal creativity rather than mass-produced style. An old ladder becomes a vertical planter. Wooden crates transform into storage for herbs. Lanterns, watering cans, or tools with history are displayed with pride rather than hidden away. Every detail becomes part of a larger narrative of authenticity. Rustic design also adapts seamlessly to modern urban conditions. Even in small balconies or rooftop spaces, rustic elements bring depth and character. A cluster of terracotta pots with herbs, a reclaimed wooden table, or a wrought iron chair can transform a bare concrete corner into a rustic escape. This adaptability makes the style not just a nostalgic nod to the past, but a future-facing solution for how we live with limited space. The timelessness of rustic gardens lies in their humanity. They are not about rigid perfection, but about connection to the earth, to tradition, and to ourselves. They offer a sense of continuity in a world of change, a grounding presence in spaces that might otherwise feel cold or artificial. A rustic garden, no matter how small, becomes a reminder that beauty lies in authenticity, that atmosphere is as important as appearance, and that imperfection can be the very essence of charm. As we move deeper into this exploration, it becomes clear that rustic gardens are not merely about style, they're about philosophy, about an approach to life and design that values substance over surface. In their warm textures, intimate spaces, and living atmosphere, they create sanctuaries where modern life can slow down, where the senses can awaken, and where the spirit can feel at home. Renovating a small garden in a rustic style begins with intention. The first step is not about buying new furniture or laying down stone. It is about imagining the story the garden should tell. Rustic design is narrative-driven. Each choice of material, each arrangement of plants, each decorative element must contribute to the feeling of warmth, intimacy, and authenticity. With clarity of vision, even the smallest budget can achieve a transformation that feels both timeless and personal. The foundation of renovation lies in surfaces. Start with the ground because it sets the tone for the entire space. Instead of modern tiles or synthetic decking, consider gravel, flagstone, or brick reclaimed from old construction. These materials are not only affordable but also durable. Their irregular patterns create a sense of age and natural flow, immediately transporting the visitor into a rustic environment. A gravel path crunches underfoot, announcing presence in the most subtle and charming way. Flagstone laid with uneven gaps allows small herbs or moss to grow in between, blurring the line between built and natural. Walls and fences are equally important in small gardens, where boundaries are always close at hand. A weathered wooden fence, allowed to gray naturally in the sun, instantly communicates rustic authenticity. For those with existing concrete walls, they can be softened with climbing plants like ivy, jasmine, or roses. Hanging terracotta planters or attaching simple wooden trellises will not only disguise harsh boundaries, but also create living walls that shift with the seasons. Stone walls, even low ones built with irregular rocks, add grounding and texture. Furniture and seating are the heart of functional renovation. Rustic furniture does not demand luxury. It values character. A reclaimed wooden bench, a wrought iron chair, or even a tree stump converted into a stool can anchor the garden space. What matters is not uniformity, but story. Mixing materials. Wood with iron, stone with fabric creates layers of texture. To stay cost-effective, one can look for secondhand pieces, items that carry marks of time. A simple sanding, oiling, or repainting can revive discarded furniture into treasures of rustic charm. Decoration in rustic gardens is often repurposed rather than purchased. An old ladder becomes a vertical planter for herbs. Wooden crates, stacked and lined with fabric, turn into shelves for potted plants. Galvanized buckets, once used for farm work, transform into water features or planters. Lanterns, whether hanging from tree branches or placed along pathways, bring soft evening light that amplifies the cozy atmosphere. These objects are not chosen for polish, but for the stories they tell. Their weathered surfaces echoing tradition and history. Plant selection is another cornerstone of the renovation. Rustic gardens thrive on plants that look natural rather than forced into rigid arrangements. Herbs such as rosemary, thyme, basil, and mint serve both beauty and function. Wildflowers bring vibrancy without artificial order. Climbing plants like wisteria, honeysuckle, or grapes soften structures and add vertical drama. In small spaces, the layering of plants is essential. Tall climbers in the back, medium shrubs or perennials in the middle, and ground covers spilling over edges. This layered arrangement mimics nature's own composition, making the space feel lush without overcrowding. One of the most effective techniques for maximizing space in a small rustic garden is vertical gardening. By using walls, trellises, pergolas, or even suspended shelves, plants can grow upward rather than outward. This creates depth and complexity without taking away precious ground space. A narrow balcony can feel transformed when every surface carries greenery. Pots hanging on railings, vines climbing up supports, and shelves displaying herbs. This layering of vertical and horizontal elements makes the garden immersive, surrounding the visitor in a living environment. Lighting plays a quiet yet powerful role in rustic renovation. Natural sunlight should be embraced, with open corners that allow rays to spill through leaves and create shifting patterns. For evenings, avoid harsh modern lights. Instead, use lanterns, candles in glass jars, or string lights with warm tones. These simple choices create a golden glow that complements wood, stone, and greenery. Light and rustic design is not meant to dominate, but to enhance, to gently illuminate while preserving intimacy. Water, even in small forms, is a traditional element that brings movement and sound to rustic gardens. A tiny stone fountain, a clay pot turned into a water basin, or a galvanized bucket with a simple pump can serve as focal points. The sound of trickling water softens urban noise and introduces a meditative quality. Unlike large-scale modern water features, rustic ones are modest, almost improvised, but this humility is part of their charm. Renovation is not just about what to add, but also what to remove. In many small spaces, clutter is the enemy of atmosphere. Plastic decor, artificial turf, or overly polished materials dilute rustic authenticity. Simplifying the space, removing the unnecessary, and allowing natural elements to breathe often does more than adding new pieces. Rustic style thrives on restraint, where each object, plant, and surface has purpose and character. Budget-conscious renovation also means choosing materials and plants with longevity. Perennials instead of annuals, reclaimed wood instead of treated lumber, locally sourced stone instead of imported tiles. These choices reduce costs over time while reinforcing rustic values. Even the act of DIY building, laying stone paths, crafting simple wooden shelves, or repainting furniture, reduces expenses and strengthens the personal connection to the garden. The sensory experience is the ultimate goal of rustic renovation. Beyond sight, it involves sound, smell, and touch. The fragrance of lavender at dusk, the texture of rough stone under the hand, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, and the glow of lanterns in the evening all combine to form a multi-layered experience. A rustic garden is not meant to be admired from afar. It is meant to be lived in, to be touched, to be smelled, and to be inhabited. As trends evolve, rustic renovation remains relevant because it adapts without losing essence. Contemporary rustic design often incorporates sustainability more deliberately, with rainwater harvesting, compost bins, and native planting integrated seamlessly. It also adapts to urban life, where even the smallest spaces can be infused with rustic character. Whether through a single reclaimed bench, a wall of terracotta pots, or a corner herb garden, the rustic touch transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Renovation is thus both practical and poetic. It requires an eye for detail and a respect for imperfection. It calls for patience as plants grow, as wood weather, as stones settle into the soil. The transformation is gradual, organic, and deeply rewarding. A small garden, once overlooked or neglected, becomes a retreat filled with atmosphere, a sanctuary built not with luxury, but with intention. Rustic renovation proves that beauty does not require excess. It requires honesty, creativity, and a connection to the timeless rhythms of nature. The future of rustic garden design is shaped by both tradition and innovation. While its foundations remain rooted in natural materials, intimacy, and imperfection, the way people interpret and apply rustic aesthetics continues to evolve. The rustic garden is no longer confined to countryside cottages. It is being reimagined in urban apartments, rooftop terraces, and modern homes. Its enduring charm comes from its ability to adapt while staying authentic, creating a bridge between past values and present needs. One of the strongest trends shaping rustic design today is the integration of ecological principles. In an era defined by climate change and environmental awareness, Gardens are no longer viewed only as decorative spaces, but as ecosystems. Rustic style naturally complements this shift. Wildflowers that attract pollinators, native plants that require less water, and compost systems that recycle organic waste all enhance the rustic spirit while serving the planet. Even in a small garden, choices like planting bee-friendly flowers or building a vertical herb wall can have ecological impact. The rustic garden of the future is both aesthetic and ecological, blending beauty with responsibility. Technology also plays a subtle but growing role in shaping rustic spaces. At first glance, technology and rustic aesthetics seem to conflict. Yet, when applied thoughtfully, technology enhances without disrupting. Solar-powered lanterns, discrete irrigation systems, or smart soil monitors can support sustainability while keeping the rustic atmosphere intact. The future of garden design is not about rejecting technology, but integrating it invisibly, ensuring it serves function while allowing natural character to remain dominant. Another significant trend is the blending of rustic with other styles. Designers are increasingly experimenting with hybrid aesthetics: rustic modern, rustic industrial, rustic minimalist. These combinations open new possibilities, particularly in urban contexts where space and architecture may not naturally align with traditional rustic imagery. A rustic modern garden might combine reclaimed wood furniture with sleek metal accents. A rustic industrial space may feature exposed brick walls softened by climbing vines and vintage iron fixtures. By blending, designers preserve rustic warmth while appealing to contemporary tastes. Personalization continues to drive how people shape their small rustic gardens. No two gardens look alike because each reflects the creativity and resourcefulness of its owner. The rise of do-it-yourself culture, fueled by online tutorials and community sharing, empowers individuals to craft unique pieces. Hand-painted terracotta pots, homemade pallet furniture, or creative recycling of old tools into decor. These personal touches ensure that rustic gardens never feel generic. They become reflections of lived experience, memory, and imagination. The rustic aesthetic also finds resonance in wellness trends. As people seek spaces of retreat from stress and constant digital exposure, small rustic gardens offer sanctuaries for mindfulness, meditation, and simple pleasure. The sensory richness of rustic spaces, the scent of herbs, the warmth of terracotta, the sound of water trickling, stimulates presence and calm. In the future, more homeowners will likely view rustic gardens not only as decorative, but as essential for mental well-being, spaces designed as much for health as for beauty. From an architectural perspective, rustic design will increasingly intersect with compact housing solutions. With the growth of tiny homes, micro-apartments, and dense urban living, the challenge is how to create soulful outdoor spaces within extreme constraints. Rustic design provides a natural solution because it thrives in smallness. A balcony can be transformed with reclaimed wood planters, hanging lanterns, and a cluster of herbs. A rooftop corner can become rustic with weathered furniture and clay pots. These micro-gardens may be small in scale but expansive in atmosphere, offering the same warmth and authenticity as larger rustic landscapes. Sustainability will continue to redefine materials. Already, designers are exploring alternatives such as bio-based composites that mimic natural textures, recycled glass transformed into gravel, or clay mixed with organic fibers for lighter terracotta. While traditional rustic gardens relied on what was available locally, future rustic design will integrate innovation without losing tactile warmth. The rustic charm of the future may come not only from reclaimed beams and stones, but also from sustainable innovations that age gracefully and tell new stories. Culturally, the rustic garden represents a counterpoint to speed and disposability. It teaches patience. Plants grow at their own rhythm, wood weathers over years, stone settles slowly into soil. This philosophy resonates deeply with people seeking to reconnect with cycles of time, to slow down and savor presence. As society moves faster, rustic gardens offer the balance of slowness, permanence, and continuity. In this sense, they are not merely a style, but a cultural statement, a choice to live differently, to value authenticity over instant perfection. Looking forward, the rustic garden will also expand its reach through community spaces. Urban neighborhoods are increasingly turning abandoned lots into shared gardens. Here, rustic design proves especially powerful because it is cost-effective and inclusive. Reclaimed materials, donated plants, and collective DIY efforts create spaces where communities gather, share food, and strengthen bonds. Rustic design, with its roots in tradition and shared culture, becomes a medium of social connection, not just private escape. Ultimately, the rustic garden endures because it is timeless. It draws from the past while welcoming the future, adapting to modern trends without losing its essence. Its textures, its imperfections, its intimacy all speak to human longing for authenticity. Whether built in a rural courtyard, a city rooftop, or a balcony overlooking streets of glass and steel, the rustic garden continues to remind us of what matters: connection to nature, respect for resources, and the creation of spaces where life feels warm, honest, and whole. A small rustic garden, renovated and decorated with care, becomes more than an outdoor room. It becomes a sanctuary, a storyteller, and a companion to daily life. In its worn wood, irregular stones, and living plants, we rediscover what it means to belong to a place, to a tradition, and to ourselves. The rustic garden is not a trend to follow and abandon. It is a way of living that grows with us, evolves with us, and will continue to inspire future generations seeking beauty in authenticity and meaning in simplicity.